Hey, this is Pastor Craig. I want to welcome you to this edition of Ask Pastor Craig. Thanks for joining me. My question this evening is this. I don't think I like God. I'm not sure I believe in God, but if He is true, I don't think I like Him. I know that's probably a sin to say that, and it scares me to say it in case He is true. But He seems to be so vindictive and cruel and hard to get along with. When I hear people talk about Him and the things that He's going to do and the way that He is, it makes me feel like I just don't like God. What should I do about this? All right, man, thanks for your question. I appreciate it. It's really a great question. And to be honest with you, the way that some people talk about God and some of the things that they say about God, I would agree that I'm not sure I like their version of God either. You know, you're not the first person in the history of mankind to feel the way that you feel. In fact, there have been some great theologians that felt exactly the way that you feel. Martin Luther had a crisis of faith. If you don't know who that is, you should Google him, because he led one of the greatest revivals in the history of humanity. And Martin Luther, when he had a crisis of faith, said, I need a God that I can love. And the problem that Martin Luther had was the reason that he didn't like God had nothing to do with God at all. He didn't like the representation that others had given him about who God was. But when he began to explore the Bible and allowed God to be self-defined, or allowed God to describe Himself as opposed to letting others define who He was, Martin Luther found that he really loved God very, very much. And so I'd really like to encourage you to do that. You know, there's so many people that say so many stupid things about God and so many ridiculous things about God, and they just represent Him in such an unfortunate light sometimes. You know, they make Him sound like a jerk. And so I understand exactly what you're feeling. I want to encourage you, man, to look in the Bible and allow God to describe who He is to you through His Word and not the word of others. I would encourage you to start at Matthew and work your way through the New Testament and really discover who God is. And I think that when you begin to do that, you'll find a God who is really just an awesome God, and a God that you can love, and a God that you'll like very much. You know, it's funny because in the Bible, in the book of Mark, chapter 8, really verse 27, Jesus asks His disciples, who do people say that I am? And the disciples replied, some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, and still others one of the prophets. And so you see, there's all this, just like today, all these different ideas about who God was. And so then God says to them, but what about you? Who do you say that I am? And that's an important question that you have to answer for yourself, my man. Who do you think that God is? Not based on what others have said. Not based on what a pastor said, or a Sunday school teacher, or some guy that seems to know so much about the Bible, but in your own self-discovery through God's Word. Who do you think God is? And that's why the Bible tells us that each individual has to work out their own salvation with reverence and awe. And so I want to encourage you to do that. All right, man, I hope that helps you. God is an awesome God, and you'll dig Him, man, if you really get into His Word and discover who He is. Thanks a lot for your question. Thanks for listening. If you have additional comments about this question or something completely unrelated, we'd love to hear from you. You can reach us in two ways. On this radio program's Facebook page, which is facebook.com/ROR Ministries, or you can reach me on my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Pastor Craig Online. God bless you, man.